Welcome to another Narc Survivor live video. If you don't know, this furry thing down here is Nala, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, in this video we're going to talk about when the narcissist realizes you're better than them. Because actually that's what this is all about. That's why narcissists react in this way, to where they end up devaluing you, turning against you. It's because they feel like you're better than them. And most often their feelings are correct. You see, initially they targeted you because they viewed you as ideal. They viewed you as being perfect, and it validated their false self, and then it created this perfect union to where you were both meant to be perfect together in this shared fantasy. The problem is that as time went by, you began to reveal more and more about yourself. And it made them feel very uncomfortable. It made them feel threatened. And maybe you were just revealing certain things about your work, your job, or the area that you live in. And it could have been things that made them feel uncomfortable. It made them feel inferior to you. It made them feel like they're not good enough to be around you. Because that's the thing, they targeted you because they viewed you as ideal. But ideal for the purpose that they had chosen for you, that they wanted to assign to you. And of course, when you don't go along with that, then you can no longer be ideal in their eyes. And then that's when inevitably they devalue you. And it's very similar to what you might see in the workplace or in school. Initially, it's like they try to befriend you. They want to get involved with you. They see it as something that could benefit them, that could improve their lives. But then suddenly they feel threatened. You start to make them feel insecure. Once they realize that you're a far greater person than they're ever going to be. Because again, they lack that self-belief. And that's why they give you a false character. They manipulate you. And that's when they then start devaluing you, they turn against you. They start putting you down, name calling, backhanded compliments, and just doing really childish, immature things. It's like they're always playing a game with you. They're always trying to make you feel insecure, to lack confidence in yourself and your qualities and abilities. And to take your focus off of your accomplishments, to take your focus off your worth, and to leave you feeling like you're just not that great after all. While of course, getting you to focus all on them and how perfect and flawless they are. Even though earlier on, you didn't think that, because they had revealed their flaws, they revealed what was beneath the mask. But then, of course, what do? They brainwash you. They indoctrinate you. They force you to accept an alternate version of events, an alternate image of themselves. And they can often do this through fear, intimidation, coercion, or sometimes they may just rely on their lies and future faking. And it's just whatever works, whatever gets you to believe in the illusion, rather than you believing in yourself. And that should be the first red flag, because anyone who has a true self and really believes that they're so great, they're going to want you to believe in you. Now that is the last thing that the narcissist wants you to do. They don't want you to even look at yourself. They don't want to talk about your qualities, your accomplishments. They don't want to talk about anything positive to do with you. Only positive things about them, and never anything negative about them. But always negative things about you. Because deep down, they recognize that you are better than them. And that's the reason for the manipulation. That's the reason for all of the games, the illusion. Because you threaten their false self. You trigger them to reflect on their shame. And that's why it doesn't matter what you do. You could give the narcissist the world. You could give them everything. You could be everything for them. But they will still turn around and tell you that you did nothing. Because of course, in order for them to accept that you do have value and that you have helped them, then that takes something away from them. And of course, they can't give you that because they're very jealous. They're very insecure. And the irony is that you likely never really wanted that from them anyway. You never needed their validation. You never needed their compliments. But they train you to need this from them. And the way that they do this is by targeting your self-esteem, making you believe that you're not worth anything. And again, the irony is that we're really not worth anything when we're around them. But as soon as you get away from them, suddenly you're worth a lot more. Because they devalue you, they take value away from you. Because everything has to be about them. Everything has to be about their mask, which has no value in reality. It has value in their minds, but in real life, it's not worth anything. So essentially what you're doing when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's no different to watching the grass grow or to watching paint dry. Nothing good is going to come out of it. At least not for you. But for them, they get their narcissistic supply. They get the validation to prop up the false self. You give everything to them, but in the end you get nothing. Because again, they target you because they realize that you are better than them. And that's the whole point. And that's how they can spend so much time around you. Because they're getting so much value out of it. It's giving them everything they want. But then it begins to threaten their false self. Because you're genuine. Everything that they're portraying themselves to be, to you, this false image, you're actually closer to that than they are. And really, you're just falling in love with a reflection of yourself. Because they can only mirror you, or they can also bring things forward from their previous source of supply. Because they take bits and pieces from whoever they're with. And they take bits and pieces from you, and then they mirror it back to you. And they will take bits and pieces from the next person that they get involved with as well. But as long as you view them as healthy, as long as you view them as a functional person, as something desirable, then you're propping up the false self. You're making it feel real for them. You're making them feel like there's something that they can never be for anyone. And that's what the narcissistic supply is. But then once you see beneath the veil, you see underneath the mask, you recognize what you're actually dealing with, then it becomes too much for them to bear. And think about it like this. If we're talking about an ant, no one really cares about that. It's not threatening, it's not intimidating. But then imagine if we had Godzilla climbing up one of these buildings, or King Kong. Of course, that can feel very threatening. That can feel very intimidating. To the point where they've got to attack you, they've got to bring you down. And the first way that they do this is to try and change your perception of yourself. They try to get you to see yourself differently, to see yourself as not so strong, as not better than them. That's their first objective, to keep you stuck, to keep you down. And this is also known as the chained elephant syndrome. So what happens is, initially, when the elephant is a baby, they chain it to a tree, and the elephant may try to escape. But of course, at that age, it's not very strong. So it can't escape, it can't get out of the trap. But then after a certain amount of time passes by, they can then just remove the chain, because it's already affected the elephant psychologically. It's already gotten into its mind, to the point where that doesn't even need to be there anymore. And this can also be sensitization, where they can use these stimuli, these triggers, which again then affects the brain. And just as an example, someone in a physically abusive relationship with a narcissist, the narcissist may have hit their victim, and then maybe the next time they don't even have to do that to provoke fear. Maybe all they have to do is just raise their hand. And maybe the next time all they have to do is just look at the victim. Or maybe they just have to be there, they just have to be physically present. And this is all because they recognize your strength. They recognize that you're better than them, that you deserve more. That's the reason for all of these manipulations, all of these mind games, all of this control, all of the threats and intimidation. Because you may not realize it, but your power is very intimidating to them. Like I said, if it was just an ant, that's not threatening, that's not intimidating. But what about Godzilla? What about King Kong? That's real power. And that's extremely threatening to them, to their false self. Especially since they're just pretending to be something they're not. Something they're never going to be. Because again, they lack self-belief. And that's why they target people like us. They want to be around the best of the best. Because then it validates them. They put on this mask, they mirror us, they act like they're the same as us. Because then that's how they get in. But then once they get in, they just give their lies a future faking. They just leech off you. They leech off your energy, your money and resources. And all you're doing is you're just building them up. You're just propping up this false character. You're just fueling this mirage. So that they can then go out and pretend to be something they're not to everyone else. But they could never be that if they were not with you. And that's why they target us. Because we bring this inflated self-perception to them. Like how what they do with us, the chained elephant syndrome, or the sensitization, for them it's the opposite. We give them a sense of freedom, a sense of stability. We make them feel powerful. Normally when they're on their own, they feel like an ant. They feel this small. But when they get around us, they feel like Godzilla. They feel like King Kong. So then it's the opposite. And of course they would get that feeling from being around us. And that's why they target us. Because it's this narcissistic supply by proxy. Well, as for you, once you've spent enough time around them, it makes you feel so small. It makes you feel like you're nothing. Because that's exactly how they felt before they got around you. And then they stole your energy, they chained you down. They trapped you. And that empowered them. It gave them a sense of liberation from seeing you stuck, from seeing you trapped. And you just imagine how that makes them feel. I mean, it's one thing to have a giant elephant chained to a tree. But what about to have an elephant who isn't even chained down, but then they still just remain stuck, they still don't move, they still don't try to escape? because they feel trapped psychologically. Just imagine how powerful that makes them feel. And that is their narcissistic supply. Their dupe is the light. And it's the only way they can get it. They can only get it psychologically, but not from their own minds. They can only get that from you. And it's likely that they will never find anyone else who can give that to them. But many of you may not see it that way because they've kept you down, they've devalued you. Honestly, you don't even realize how valuable you are. And they also have to gaslight themselves, they have to brainwash themselves. They have to be in denial about your worth. Because otherwise, it would just blow them away. It really would. It would likely make them very angry, because it would make them feel so small. And that's typically how they react when you do find your freedom. When you do get away from them, they become so aggressive, and they just want to destroy you after that, because you made them feel this small. Not that you were trying to do that, of course. You were just trying to live your life. But that's how you made them feel. And then that's why they go out of their way to sabotage you or to destroy your new relationship. Because they're trying to make you feel the way that they feel. They feel like they're nothing in comparison to you. But yeah, you would think, why would they even get around you in the first place? Why would they bother with you? Why would they want to be anywhere near you if that's how you were making them feel? But it's because initially, when they targeted you, when they idealized you, they were idealizing themselves at the same time. They were looking at it like, if they can be around such a high value, high caliber person, then what does that say about them? Obviously that means that they must be something special if they can get around you, if you can be interested in them. Of course, they don't look at how they just gave you a false self and how they mirrored you. They're not looking at it like that. They have to believe that their false self is real. So initially they idealize you, and it creates this perfect union. And then you both feel like you have something ideal together in this shared fantasy. And initially all of the focus is on you. It's all on how wonderful you are. It's all about your wonderful qualities and accomplishments. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You've worked hard, you take good care of yourself. You've accomplished things in your life. You deserve praise, you deserve compliments. And yeah, it can feel flattering when you get with someone. But they weren't really appreciating you. What they were doing is they were just grooming you. Because then at some point, they then turned against you. They then started devaluing you. Because your power, your superiority over them felt threatening to them. It intimidated them. And they did not like how that felt. It made them feel so small in comparison to you. And they feared that at some point you would wake up and that you would then abandon them or that your authenticity would then threaten to expose them. Because you're the real deal, you're genuine. And they're not, they're just pretending. So of course that would feel threatening for them. Of course it would be intimidating. And that's why from that point on, it's all about devaluing you, putting you down. The chained elephant syndrome. But it can happen gradually. It's like the boiling frog syndrome as well. They gradually turn up the heat so that you don't notice it. And then they go behind your back as well. Especially if you maintain your confidence and your belief in yourself, despite the things that they've said and done to you. Then they've got to go around and manipulate other people, because otherwise, of course, a person with that much value, a person of your caliber, it's not going to be too difficult for you to find someone else on your level as well. Someone who is actually about it for real, instead of them where they were just manipulating you. And of course they fear that as well. Because these narcissists, they know that they're not the best. And of course they're not the best in more ways than one. But most importantly, they're not the best in terms of manipulating people. Of course, they know that there's other people out there who will surpass them in their manipulation skills, and they fear that someone else may come and take you away from them. Or at least that's how they see it. Because even if there was someone else who's authentic and who's on your level, they would still see that as manipulation. They wouldn't even realize that that's actually real. Because in their minds, everyone is fake. Everyone is just as fake as them. So the way they look at it is that someone superior to them could come and out-manipulate them and take you away from them. And that's why they're so jealous and possessive. That's why they're so controlling. But yeah, this is why they devalue you. They devalue you because you have so much value that they just got to take that value away from you. Because you're making them feel worthless. You're making them feel like absolute garbage. And that's why they just got to take that off of you. They've got to take it away. Because it's making them feel inferior to you. Insignificant in comparison to you. It just makes them feel so small. And they don't want to feel small, they want to feel big. They want to feel like there's something great, like there's something significant, even though they've never even done the work. They just want to feel that way because that's how they want to feel. Because remember, it's all about them. And that's why they devalue you, they take value away from you. And they also try to prevent you from gaining more value. Whether it's from your work, your job, a business, or from other people as well. To where you may build something together with another person. They're trying to prevent all of that. And it's very much like this high school mentality where they feel threatened by another child in the school. Because remember, narcissists are very childish and immature. So they feel threatened by you, as though you're a threat to their reputation, and that you may steal the spotlight away from them. So then that's why they have to backbite you, lie about you, maybe steal from you, and just do whatever they have to do to affect you in any way that they possibly can, to strip you of your value. But then at the same time, they're also having to gaslight themselves, because otherwise you're overpowering them. It's far too intimidating for them. And honestly, if they had to accept your value as it actually is, on the grand scale that it is, who knows what they would do. They'd probably just take themselves out, because they would feel that small. And that's why it's very important to them to manage your perception of your value, so then they can then manage their perception of your value as well. And also, if they can convince other people certain things about you, or they can get other people to sabotage you, then that also helps them to manage their perceptions of your value as well. But in order for them to do all of these things, they have to be in a fantasy world. They have to be detached from reality. And that's really just what they have to do. And that's where they manipulate you. That's where they use a false character. Because the reality is just too difficult for them to bear. Like, you are you. They cannot accept that you are you, and that's why they steal bits and pieces of your character. If they viewed you as being beneath them, they wouldn't even bother. They would just treat you with contempt and just want nothing from you. But they don't. They targeted you because they need your validation. They need your energy, money, and resources. They need everything that you have. And this is why they play all of these childish games. This is why they try to get inside your head to change your perception of yourself. When all you got to do is just look back and think, hold on a minute. Look at all of the things that you already accomplished. Look at all of the things that you already did. And then look at them, and what are they doing? What have they accomplished with their lives? And instead, what do? They use a false character. They manipulate people. They pretend to be something they're not. They have this duality to them. They're two-faced. They're one person with you at home, and then there's someone completely different when they're out in public. Because they actually hate the real them. They use that around you because they've already trained you, they've trauma bonded you, and when they let the mask slip a little bit, it makes you feel fear, or it makes you feel threatened by them, and then it makes them feel powerful. But otherwise, if they just went and took off the mask out in public, they wouldn't feel so powerful then. That would humiliate them. That would ruin their reputation. So that's why they do it around you. But that doesn't mean that they only do it around you. They may use other people as well. But yeah, this is what it's all about. It's all their envy of you. I mean, what is envy? What is the definition of envy? It's when someone wants to take something away from you. And more importantly, it's not just the emotions, it's not just the feeling of envy. I mean, everyone can feel that from time to time. But with them, it's how they actually act on these feelings of envy. They actually go out of their way to take from you, to sabotage you, because they're dysregulated, they can't regulate their own emotions. And then they try to destabilize you. Everything a narcissist does is designed to take something away from you. Everything. Every action, every behavior, it's all manipulation. Because that's the only thing they can do. They can only take because they have a void inside of them. It's like a cup with a leak at the bottom. So they're constantly trying to fill it up, but no matter how much you pour into it, it always leaks out. And this is why all they can do is take. All they can do is deprive you. And they have to do that because they're disconnected from themselves. This is why they use a false character, because there's just so much shame inside of them. They hate themselves. And you get around them and it's like you dislike the person that you've become from being around them. And it's like all you want to do is be yourself. You just want to be the person that you were before you met them. But that is the last thing that they want you to be. Because of course they couldn't stand that, and that's why they then ended up devaluing you. Because the only thing that matters to a narcissist is their ego. They have to feel important. They have to feel special, wonderful, like they're something. And of course, once you've been around them for a certain amount of time, especially a person of high value, of high caliber, you make them feel like they're nothing. And of course, because they feel like they're nothing, they then end up doing everything they possibly can to try to feel like they're something. And not that I'm knocking anyone who wants to be something. I mean, if you actually put in the work to become something, then that's great. But with the narcissist, it's more about putting on an act, as they did with you, manipulating you, giving this character, and then when you begin to threaten the false self, then they got to devalue you. They're going to make you feel small. They're going to invalidate you. They're going to spread rumors about you, turn people against you. They're going to do all of these things to change people's perceptions of you and to change your perception of yourself. Because they know they've only got a limited amount of time to do that. Because once the mask is slipped and you start to see who they really are, once you've seen beneath the veil, then it's like a ticking time bomb for them. They know that it's only a certain amount of time until you figure them out. And of course, yeah, in the beginning, there's always these red flags. We often overlook them because we have self-belief, we believe in ourselves, and we want to see the good in other people. And also sometimes they play the victim, they play on our empathy. So many of us, we just blindly go along with it. But then more and more we see the mask slip, and then they begin to feel threatened. They know we're about to figure them out. And then that's why they then go to the devaluation. That's why they then start putting us down, to keep us looking at ourselves and thinking that something is wrong with us, or as though we need to do more for them, so that you don't look at them and realize, hold on a minute, you're in this relationship with someone and you're giving everything to them, but you're getting nothing back in return. All you're getting is lies and future faking, manipulation. And at the same time, they're mistreating you, they're abusing you. But yeah, this is what they have to do when they realize that you are better than them. When a narcissist realizes that you're better than them, it's all about orchestrating situations, maneuvering people and things, gaslighting the hell out of people, and especially gaslighting you to the point where you don't even know which way is up and which way is down. Or they gaslight you to the point where you don't even know what color the sky is, because they have to confuse your mind. They have to confuse everything, because otherwise, if they have to remain connected to reality and we just have to focus on the facts, then their ego is going to take a hit, and they're going to feel this small, because the reality is that you are far better than them, and that they do not deserve to be around you. And that's why they then end up devaluing you in order to control you. But even by devaluing you, that still doesn't mean that they deserve you. They have a warped mentality, because if you deserve something, then you're going to take good care of it. Just like if you have a car, you're going to look after it, you're going to clean it, make sure it has fuel, oil. It doesn't mean that you just start destroying the car. It's like if you imagine a narcissist with a laptop. If one day they press the power button and it doesn't turn on, they might just press the button harder and harder until the button breaks. And then they might just pick up the laptop and just throw it at the wall. That's the type of mentality that they have. And especially with us, not only because we're not doing what they want us to do for them, but also because it's our worth, our value, it threatens them. So they look at it like, if they harm us, if they take value away from us, if they destroy us, then we're no longer a threat. We're no longer intimidating to them as much as we were before. But then they may also still feel intimidated, because then there's still the chance that you could get back up on your feet, you could recover, you could do more, and you could make them feel the way that they felt before, the way that they never want to feel ever again. So there's always that fear inside of them that you could do that. And this is why. What do? When they discard you, or when you leave them, as soon as you start to move on, as soon as things start to get better for you, then they come back. They come back just to run you through the cycle again and again, because this is what they're trying to prevent. Your growth, your elevation, you becoming something better, something more. You becoming that person that you were before you got involved with them, because that is the last thing that they want to see. And it's all about just managing this false image, their ego, which is very dysfunctional, it's very fragile. And that's why they act in the way that they do. But yeah, not just in terms of your success or even your attractiveness, although I've seen many of my clients, very attractive people, very successful, but also with our morals, just the way that we conduct ourselves. Because narcissists, just look at the things that they do. Many of them are criminals. They engage in illegal or immoral activities. They're always doing the wrong things. They do things that they know that you would never do. And that's why they do it to you, because they know that you would not do that to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it to you. As an example, cheating on you. They cheat on you because they know you would not cheat on them. You really think that they would cheat on you if they knew that any time you could just go out and cheat on them and get them back for it? Of course they wouldn't do that then. And this is why they do the things that they do. This is why they steal from you. Because they know that you're not going to steal from them, so they don't feel so paranoid about it. There's no threat to them. Because deep down they know that you're a far better person than they will ever be. And then that's also why they try to discredit you. They start smear campaigns, they do anything to distort people's perceptions of you. Because they just know that you're a far better person than they are. But then also at the same time, I mean, this is what you got to understand about narcissists. They're not concerned about the bigger picture, the grand scale of things. They're not concerned about what happens tomorrow. For narcissists, it's all just right now, in this moment. How can they feel better? How can they get something? That's all that matters to them. So to them, it's all about, what do they have to do to feel better? What do they have to do to you? Never mind about how that affects the future. How is that going to make them feel right now? And when you really understand this mentality, their behavior will begin to make a lot more sense to you. Because this is just the way that narcissists operate. Remember, they're self-absorbed, that they lack empathy. They have a strong sense of entitlement, grandiosity. So they're only focused on the moment. And that's how many of us were at a disadvantage when we're dealing with them. Because when you're dealing with someone who's so reckless and impulsive, where they're only focused on the moment, they're only focused on the now, and you're thinking about tomorrow, of course that's going to put you at a disadvantage, because they can just do whatever they want now. They can affect you however they like. they can cheat on you, they can steal from you. And then you're the one who's left to deal with that tomorrow. And this is how they always win. This is how they always have the upper hand. Because you're the one who's worried about the future. They're not. They don't care about that. And you will begin to see this, if not already, then the more that the months and years go by. Because they're always focused on the moment. Remember, narcissists are predators. They have a reptilian brain. So they're only focused on preying on you, exploiting you, just getting what they can from you. They're not focused on sustaining you, keeping you going, so that you can have a long-lasting relationship. No. They see everything as temporary. Everything is a means to an end. And this is why, whenever you're dealing with a narcissist, you can never win. You're always going to be the one who loses with them. Well, you're with them anyway. Because they're only focused on the moment, you're focused on the future. And you care. You care about your life. They don't. They don't care about your life. They don't even care about their own. I mean, think about it. They abandoned their true selves a long time ago. You really think they care about themselves? Of course not. All they care about is this image. And this is why you're always at a disadvantage. When you care, when you have empathy, and you're dealing with someone who doesn't have that, and you care about the future, and you're dealing with someone who's only focused on the now, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. You're always going to be the one who loses. They're always going to have the upper hand, and that's the only way it's going to go. That's the only way it's going to go. But what I will say, and this is something they came up with over the last few months, it's very true. The person who cares the least in a relationship has the most power. As I mentioned in some of my earliest videos as well. But now I've extended on that. The person who cares the least in the relationship has the most power. Short term. But actually no. Long term, the person who cares the most has the most power. And that's how narcissists win the battle. They win in the moment, but they lose the war. Every time, they always lose the war. So better people, they do win in the end. People who are stronger, people who are more able, people who actually care about this world, they care about their lives, they care about the future, they win long term. They may not win in the moment, but long term they do. And it's always that way. I mean, people who are always so superficial, that always focus on the surface of things. What about the foundation? What about the structure? What about building something for real? Instead of just pretending. And that's how everything they have, it's built on a house of cards. It's a matter of time until it all falls apart. And that's why all you got to do is wait. Just give it time, give it a few months, maybe a few years in some cases. But you just give it time and you will see. that it all begins to fall apart. No matter what they did to you, no matter what they took from you, doesn't matter. They're not going to get very far. Well, as for us, we can rebuild, we can be better, we can do more. Because yeah, we actually got it for real. We got it from within, we got it inside. And that is something they do not have. That is something you will not find in the narcissist. But they saw that in you. And they used you for that. That's why they got around you. That's why they targeted you. Because you had that self-belief in yourself. And of course, because you believed in yourself, you believed in them. But they never believed in you because they didn't believe in themselves. And that's why they tricked you, that's why they manipulated you. Because they didn't really believe that you could ever want anything to do with the real them. That's why they wore a mask. I think the sound of my voice really soothes Nala. Helps her to sleep. Give me a thumbs up down below if you found this video helpful so far. I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of people. But yeah, I know what it's like. I've been through it so many times. They do the same thing every time. This is just what they do. But it doesn't get them very far. They're not going to get very far with that. They're going to come back to you, they're going to hoover you, they're going to try and love bomb you again. But this time you have to know. You have to realize that what you're dealing with is not real. It's all a lie. All they can do is manipulate you. All they can do is play on your emotions. Emotions that they do not possess. They do not have that. They lack affective empathy. There's nothing there. No one's home. They can make it seem real, but there's nothing actually there. Yes, empty vessels, they make the most noise. They can make you believe that there's something there. They've had years of practice, years of studying people. They know how to act, they know what to do to make you believe that it's real. But it isn't real. There's nothing actually there, it's just you. And a mirror reflection of yourself. And that's a big part of what trauma bonds you to them, is that they train you to see yourself in them. That's what they train you to do. That's how they train you to see them. You see yourself in them, and then when they get angry, when they devalue you, when they ghost you, they give you the silent treatment, you feel like you're losing a part of yourself. And in some ways you are, because they've robbed your energy, maybe your possessions, your money. So yeah, these are real physical parts of you. But other than that, it's because they were mirroring you. making you believe that they were the same as you. But they were not. They're nothing like you. They're never going to be anything like you. And when you realize that, it's game over. It's all over for them. It's done. Because that's the whole game, is to make you believe that they are you. But they're not you. They're nothing like you. They're never going to be you. But you may not feel like you right now, after everything they put you through. But with time, it will all come back. You will begin to feel better. You will begin to heal. They won't. They will always be stuck at that same level of consciousness that they kept you in. At the way that they constantly try to make you feel. Because that's exactly how they felt inside all of that time. They always felt like that. And they're always going to feel that way. They're never going to feel any better. They're never going to feel any better than you. They can only give you the mask, the illusion. But it will never be real. They know. They know that you're better than them. Deep down, they know it. They can see it. They know that they will never compare to you. That's why they targeted you. Otherwise, they would have just left you alone. They wouldn't have bothered with you. And that's why they devalued you as well. That's why they let the mask slip. To make you feel small, to make you feel intimidated. Because that's how they wanted to make you feel. It's like, however they try to make you feel, that's actually how they feel. They're trying to project their feelings onto you. And of course, they would feel that way around you. They would feel intimidated. They would feel this small. Because you're far better than them. You're far better than they're ever going to be. And of course you're better than they're ever going to be, because they get worse with time anyway. But yeah. We're better than them in every possible way. We are empaths, chosen ones. We are better than narcissists. I mean, it's not even worth comparing. Because what do? All they do is leech off you, drain you. Narcissists are the lowest of the low. They're the problem with the world. They're not good at all. People who are self-absorbed, lacking empathy, a strong sense of entitlement, grandiosity. What value is that providing to the world? What is that doing for anyone? Is it doing anything for you? Because I know it's not doing anything for me. All they care about is themselves, at the expense of everyone else. These people are pathetic. They're useless. They hate society. They hate people. They only live in these communities so that they can leech off other people. People who are far greater, far more valuable than them. And that's the only reason why they're here. And honestly, to me, that is a disgrace. That is pathetic. They are the lowest of the low. They are bottom feeders. They are absolute garbage. They really are. Because that's all that they are. They're leeches, parasites. But they think that they're valuable because all that they do is manipulate people, exploit them, steal from them. And it's like they determine their value by what they consume. Like the selfish, greedy pigs that they are. But for me, and from what I've researched, no. Our value is determined by what we give, by what we can share with the world. And that's what I get on here every day, to share this value with you. That's why I do that. But these narcissists, nope, they can't do that. All they're going to do is keep leeching off people, robbing us parasitically, draining our energy. Because that's the only way they're going to get anything. It's by taking it from you. And they're going to see it as though that makes them more valuable. Because in their minds, their value is determined by what they consume. But where does it go when they consume it? It goes straight into the void, never to be seen again. They don't reciprocate anything. They don't give any value back out. So giving anything to them is just completely worthless. Because the whole point is that when you give value to someone, they can then give that value to someone else. They can multiply it. But you give it to these narcissists, it just goes straight into the void. And then it's gone, you never see it again. And that's why, yes, they're just a complete waste of your time. They're a waste of your energy. There's no point being around them. All they can do is take, all they can do is manipulate you. That's all they can do. They can never do anything else. And that's why I said at the beginning, when I first began this channel 6.5 years ago, it's what I'm still saying now, to this day. That's all they can do. I even did a video on that 5 years ago. The best you will ever get from a narcissist is an illusion. And I've encountered many narcissists since that time, and all I got from them was an illusion. So to this day, I stand by that. All you're going to get from someone who is manipulative, self-absorbed, and lacks empathy, all you're going to get from them is an illusion. You are not going to get anything real. And I didn't get anything real. I'm sure everyone who this video goes out to, they didn't get anything real as well. Because that's the whole point. If you actually got something real, there would be no problem. But you won't, because narcissists can't do that. They've got nothing real to give to you because they're fake. They're fraudsters. They're con artists, manipulators. They come around you to take from you because you're real, you're authentic, you actually have something. They don't. And when you realize that, you realize everything. You realize that you're far better than them. And you're better than them because you're real, you're genuine, you're authentic, you have integrity, you have values, morals, principles. You actually believe in things. You believe in people, you believe in the world, you believe in a better future. They don't believe in anything. That's why you feel so hopeless and helpless whenever you get around them. Because that's exactly how they feel inside, and that's how they're always going to feel. And nothing anyone says or does is ever going to change that. And that is a guarantee. That is something that I can promise to you. But yeah, let me know what you think about what I said. Let me know if you've got any questions in the live chat. I'll read them out and respond to them. I haven't been reading the live chat much in this one so far. Just got into a little flow state there, as I do. Giving you this real talk. Grumpy Author 7 says, only the hate they give you is real. You know, I used to think that it's the only thing real that we actually get from them is the hate. But actually, pay attention to the other people in their lives. Pay attention to their family. Maybe their parents. And you will see that when they're angry, when they're arguing with you, they're fighting with you, they're hating on you, it's like they've stolen that from someone else as well. You've got the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and when they're Mr. Hyde, it's like they've stolen that character from someone. And it may be a person in real life or someone that they've seen in a movie, but they've learned to do that. They've seen that it's effective, it works, it gets them what they want. It gets people to lie down, it gets people to submit to them. So even that's not really them. Even that's fake. Even that moody, angry person who's threatening and intimidating you, that's not even real. Even that's a false character. The real them is just this vulnerable little child who they can never show to anyone. Everything else, they're just coping and defense mechanisms. The Rain Dan says, the only Hoover I'm getting is a Dyson. Nice choice. Enjoy it. Hope it keeps your home clean. Lorraine Dan says, I finally made sense of nonsense. Yeah, it can be difficult. I mean, the way to really decipher it, if you want to understand crazy making, you want to understand nonsense. They're crazy, they're nonsensical, especially when they see you. So they have to become irrational. They have to just have some other kind of interpretation of it. It has to be something else. It can't be what it is. There can't be this successful, attractive, intelligent person who's better than them, who's intimidating them. That can't be it. It has to be something else. They have to create this crazy making. It has to be nonsensical. They have to disconnect from reality and go into this fantasy world because it's the only way they can cope with it. They would not be able to cope if they were to accept that you are who you are. It would drive them crazy. The only way that they can stabilize themselves is by using this crazy making and by making you feel crazy to destabilize you. Because the crazy making, these nonsensical ideas, that stabilizes them. What stabilizes us is reality, because we're connected to reality. Maybe reality works for us, and the organism does what has worked for them, what helps them to succeed, to survive. And that's why we remain connected to reality. We don't respond well to gaslighting, to lies, to manipulations. We don't respond well to any of that. But that's how they thrive. They thrive in dysfunction, in confusion. They thrive in all of that. Because that's how they made it this far. Chad Reese says, thanks for helping me stay focused on this new life journey I'm about to embark on, and helping me to not give up by stating all the things that I have been feeling but not acting on. You are very welcome, Chad. I'm glad that I could help. And I wish you the best on your new life journey. Monta 224 says about Andrew Tate is an actor, but not necessarily a narcissist. I don't know. I mean, Andrew Tate, he has mentioned of how he's meant to give £25 million to charity every year. I mean, that's a lot of money to give every year as well. So who knows, maybe there is something inside of him that does care about people. But then at the same time, he has these pyramid schemes for his followers, the people who believe in him. And he just gives them these useless courses that don't actually help them to achieve anything, but it's making him so much money. And then also, he has been charged with sex trafficking, which is a very serious crime. And this is something recent. I mean, it's still ongoing now. But then at the same time, you know, maybe he was what the world needed right now. I mean, you know, the way things are going with feminism, maybe what we needed was a strong masculine role model, even if he is maybe quite toxic or narcissistic. Maybe that does help to move things in the right direction. But then, of course, there will always be those people who take things out of context, as Andrew Tate says himself, and they become violent towards women. They think it's okay to sleep with them without consent, even though Andrew Tate never advocated for any of that. But yeah, I mean, you know, the world is a very complex place. And definitely, you know, certain characters, they can play a role in improving this world, even though they may not be the ideal role model themselves. They can still help to move things in the right direction. So I think Andrew Tate, he has helped in some ways. But then in other ways, maybe, yes, he has harmed people as well. But that's really inevitable. I mean, you can't please everyone. And there's always going to be cons, there's always going to be negative effects. I mean, Andrew Tate, he is he's a complicated person, but he is very intelligent. You know, I've watched a lot of his videos, and a lot of what he says is true. He actually does make a lot of sense. Maybe he just doesn't always convey it in the right way. Because yeah, he can be quite aggressive. But yeah, that's my opinion on Andrew Tate. Is he a narcissist? Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. A lot of celebrities, a lot of highly successful people, they are narcissists. Tit Predict says, Lived abuse free said hate should be banned. So, you know, here's the thing, because if you ban him, then that's just going to bring him more followers. And, you know, instead of having this black and white mentality where it's like everything about him is bad, instead, you know, why not recognize some things are good? I mean, maybe he has his inspiring strength in younger children and teenage boys. So that could be something to work with there. He's motivating them and maybe making them want to be more successful, want to go to the gym and be stronger, and be protectors and providers for a woman that they may marry and have children with. So that's something to work with there. So instead, why don't they just regulate it instead of just completely banning him? Ellie Wynn says social intelligence is the hardest knowledge to learn by far. Would it be easier to learn to build a skyscraper? I don't know, I mean, if I was going to teach someone to go out into the world and to be socially intelligent, I would just say 3 things. Just be fake, be pleasant and agreeable. And that will work very well for you socially. But then also, don't be a pushover, have boundaries, but just agree with what people say, just go along with it. Just be another sheep. Problem is, when you're real, when you're authentic, you're not going to fit in very well. You will have a lot of haters, especially when you become successful. Because of course, most of the sheep out there who may be doing well socially, they're not very successful. I mean, that's just how it is, you know, when you get around most people, it will affect you. And even your relationships may not be that enjoyable, may not be that fulfilling. Because of course, you know, when you're having to be fake and you have these relationships that lack any depth, it can be miserable. And I know exactly what that's like. I had to be fake myself a long time ago. I was always just this nice guy. I was always so agreeable. But then one day I just couldn't take it anymore, and I thought, you know, it's about time someone's told the truth about how things actually are. And then since then, I spent a lot of time alone. I realized that I don't fit in with people. But for whatever reason, it appears as though I fit in very well online. When people can watch me on their phones in a video at a distance from far away, people seem to like me then. People seem to understand me very well. It's very difficult to find someone like that in person. But you know, that's how it is with a lot of these influencers, a lot of these celebrities. You'd think they'd have tons of friends. They actually don't. They have very few, if any, true friends. Most people are envious of them. They can't trust anyone. They spend a lot of their time alone. This is how many of them end up on drugs, or they're trying to take their own lives. And this is why many of you may feel isolated. This is why you may feel like your only true friends are online. Because once people get around you in the flesh, in person, it's very different. People feel intimidated, they feel jealous. It can also be the case that empathic people like ourselves are very rare as well. So this is the problem. Grumpy Author 7 says, speaking truth causes controversy. Hiding truth causes devastation. It does. I mean, you can only cover it up for so long, and even then it still seeps out and it affects everything. Lorraine Diane says, a narc's claim to fame is knowing they have destroyed someone. Yeah, that's what gives them supply. That's what makes them feel like they've accomplished something. Accomplishment to them is someone else's destruction. Not making them feel, not making someone else feel good. Not helping someone. Not being there for them. Destroying them. That's an accomplishment to a narcissist. But yeah, it's getting quite late now. Me and Nala will be heading towards the mountains here in Malaysia tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully it will be a more peaceful environment, because that's typically what I like to do, is just get away from everything, the city, all of the people. I just like to get away from all of this. And yeah, I just don't like all of the attention, all of the people follow me around wherever I go. And honestly, it gets to a point where it's like, I just end up giving in. I just end up falling. I just end up trying to be exactly what I think people need me to be. I just act like as though, yeah, I like it. Like I like it when people chase after me. I like it when people try to get my attention. Because eventually you learn, if you just act that way, then things begin to calm down. Then they don't bother you so much. And I'm sure many of you who deal with harassment, stalking, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's been like this my whole life. I've always had people chasing after me wherever I go, following me around, stalking me, bullying me. And not because I was a nerd. Not that there's anything wrong with nerds. But just because, and I know because they saw me as being better than them. That's what it always was. And sometimes you just got to tone yourself down. You just got to go along with it. But yeah, I think we're going to feel a lot more comfortable when we get out of here, away from the cities. Because that's what it's like. A lot of people, they come to these cities because they're thinking, you can get a lot of attention here. Lots of people around. A narcissist hotspot. And I haven't got a car at the moment. But as many of you will see from my past live videos, every time when I came to Malaysia, usually within the first week of arriving here, I just head straight off to the rural areas, away from everything, away from all of the people. Because myself, I actually don't enjoy too much attention. I've never really been that type of person. It makes me feel uncomfortable. When people are pulling me in all sorts of different directions. But it's a different story when I'm the leader, when I have the authority. Because I feel confident then, I know what to do. The problem for me is when people get around me and they want to act like they know more than me, or as though they're more confident, they're more competent. And then what do? They just end up leading you off the edge of a cliff. And then they blame you for that. And this is why I don't like being around most people. Because this is just what seems to happen again and again. And it's like the only person that I can really depend on is myself. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's how it can feel so uncomfortable being in cities, being around lots of people. Because everyone feels drawn to you, they want to be around you. They can see a benefit in you. And they act like they can be good for you, but no, they can't. They can't do anything for you. They can't improve your life themselves. And that's what most people in this world are like. And even some people, I've seen some people, they may have acted more confident than me, they may have seemed more successful at the time. They just got lucky. It genuinely was just a fluke for them. And then that's why they felt so insecure, they felt so threatened around me. But that's what we're like as empaths, you know. We're just built to make it on our own. We're built to survive no matter what. No matter what comes at us, we always make it through. Because that's just what we're meant to do. But they don't want you to do that, because then it makes them look bad. And that's why the best thing you can do is just stay away from them. We have to distance ourselves. We have to go off on our own. We have to avoid these cities as much as we can, because these people are only going to bring you down. I mean, you've got to look at it like this. A lot of these people, they mask themselves and their true emotions. It's like they're down here pretending to be up there, and you're here, and they're trying to make you think that they can help you. And you may believe in them because you think they're on a similar level to you somewhere, but then it's like, no, they're actually all the way down there. And they're just putting on an act. They're pretending to be something they're not, so that they can get in with you, and so that they can get what they want from you. But honestly, for myself, I've always been independent. I've never really had anyone who I could trust or depend on in my entire life. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I am open to it. You know, if there is someone genuine who is at my level, then, you know, that's not threatening to me. And of course I can welcome someone like that into my life. But I just can't see that happening. And I'm sure it's the same for many of you. I'm sure you can't see that being a reality. Because what do people do? They act like they're something, and then they come into your life and then they ruin you. And that's just how it is. And that's why I can't stand it when people are always around me, that was following me, harassing me. And that's why these days I just dress down. I just try not to seem so noticeable. And I don't even drive a car anymore. I just take a taxi. Because it's gotten to the point where I just don't want anyone to see me. I'm just constantly worried about, what are people going to do next? What's going to happen to me? But then it's also good when you come to that realization, because it means that you have regained your awareness. You do recognize your value again. So that's good. And yeah, the reality is that most people, they will be a danger to you. They will be a threat to you. I mean, most people just look at them, they're a threat to themselves. They really are. And I wish that wasn't the truth. But in my experience, in my research, in all of the people that I talk to, that's how it is. And honestly, the only people that I've been able to depend on is all of you. All of you who support my work, you help me to build up this channel. You book sessions with me, you make donations, Yes, the people in this community, you're the ones who changed my perception on people. Because we built this together. You've given support to victims of narcissistic abuse. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. But yeah, as for people in real life, I say real life, but sometimes online feels more real. But yeah, people offline, I just always sense that they're intimidated, they feel threatened, they're uncomfortable around me, and it's like they don't say it, but I know what they want. It's like they just want me to tone it down, to not be me, to not be the highly motivated, confident, self-assured, intelligent person that I naturally am. I just consciously know, get around most people, especially when I'm in cities, got to tone it down. So many people are insecure, so many people are threatened, especially when you're in the city centres, you're in the malls, you're in the tourist areas. But I'm never like that with anyone. And of course, you know, I've met many people who are more successful than me, and even to this day, even more successful than I am now. And I never felt threatened. It never irritated me. I always celebrated them, I looked up to them. But many of them, they didn't look up to me. They saw me as a threat. They tried to put me down. And I guess that happens with us because we have a light, and we can find fulfillment in things and they can't. And I think that's because we respect things. We give things the respect that they deserve. Now that's why we find fulfillment in them. Because of course, I mean, when you're just constantly looking at something with green eyes and you're hating on it, and you're looking for things to be wrong with it, how can you find fulfillment with it? So how can they find fulfillment with you? First, they've got to drop their pride. They've got to let go of their ego. And maybe then they could find some fulfillment with it. And I think that's really it. It might not help for full-blown narcissists. I mean, I don't think they would be able to do that. But a lot of people, I mean, sometimes they do just have to humble themselves. Instead of being so bitter, so uptight, they just got to drop their ego, not be afraid to be vulnerable, not constantly feel like they're going to be harmed, and then maybe then they could find some fulfillment. But then that's the thing, because someone could say that to me, but then I know as soon as I drop my guard, then I am at risk of being harmed. Because I've already dropped my guard many times before. And every time I've seen the same results. So it reveals that I'm not going to find fulfillment for most people. I've tried to on many occasions. But yeah, it's late and I'm not sure how I started talking about this. But that's something that's always bothered me. It's just always having people following me around and just harassing me, always wanting to get my attention, wanting me to be involved with them. But I can tell that most of them, they don't really like me. They don't really want to be involved with me. They can't stand me. They envy me. They just want to get around me to take from me, and then just run off and share it with someone more like themselves. Of course I know that. And this is why I just enjoy being alone. And it doesn't feel lonely for me. Honestly, I look back throughout my life, even when I was a child. Even though I had all of these friends, all of these girls, the best times in my life were when I was alone. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. But you know, I would invite an empathic person into my life. I would welcome them. I'm sure we all would, you know, I'm sure that's what we all want, is someone more like ourselves. Someone who can be more like what we were for the narcissist. I mean, wouldn't that make sense, to have someone more like ourselves, so that we can build something together? And isn't that what we're supposed to do? But honestly, just look out into these to the world these days. There's so many people out there just waiting to take from you. And I always used to wonder why my father was so guarded. He used to hate me going out of the house. Sometimes I'd go back and he would hit me in the face and give me a nosebleed. And I would just wonder why. Why he didn't like me having friends or being around people. And then I started to have friends. I started to have relationships, and now I've begun to realize this began to make more sense. But you just don't realize it at the time. But that's just it. I mean, sometimes, you know, even toxic people, narcissists, They can teach you a lot of things about life. Because there's a reason why they're that way. And sometimes we do have to take a leaf out of their book. Those of us who are people pleasers, codependents, we do need to be more guarded. We do need to have stronger boundaries. But yeah, I think Nala's hungry. I'm going to go and give her some more food. I got her some more food earlier today. But if you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. And let me know your thoughts about what I've said to you. Especially what I've said to you at the end as well. I'd like to hear from you. Hit subscribe and click on notifications so that you will be notified when I go live again. Donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate to my PayPal. It's paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like to book a coaching session with me, just go to my website. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk. And follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. All right, thank you all for joining me on another live, and I will talk to you soon.